Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q3 FY21 earnings conference call of Sudarshan Chemical Industries Limited, hosted by Dolat Capital. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Archit Joshi from Dolat Capital. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thanks, Margaret. Good afternoon, one and all. On behalf of Dolat Capital, I would like to welcome you all to the third quarter FY21 earnings conference call of Sudarshan Chemicals. We have with us today Mr. Rajesh Rathi, the Managing Director, Mr. Neelkanth Nathu, the CFO, Mr. Vivek Thakur, GM Finance, Mr. Amay Atle, DGM Finance, and Mr. Mandar Velankar, Company Secretary. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for giving us the opportunity to host this call. Without further ado, I would now like to hand over the floor to Mr. Rajesh Rathi, the Managing Director of Sudarshan Chemicals, for his opening remarks, post which we'll have the floor open for a Q&A round. Thanks, and over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, and thank you for hosting us. Dolat Capital, Mr. Nathuji would be taking us through our quarterly results and year-till-date results so far, and we'll be also talking about our CapEx program. Glad to inform you that I think last quarter the company did deliver good results, and I hope you all found them in line with your expectations. Over to Nathuji, CFO, to kind of take us through the quarter and YTD performance.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sudarshan Chemical Industries Limited Q3 FY21 earnings conference call, and thank you for your continued interest in our company. Our investor presentation has already been uploaded on the stock exchanges and the company's website for your ready reference. I hope you have been able to access it. Please note that anything said on this call that reflects our outlook for the future or that could be construed as forward-looking statement must be viewed in conjunction with the risk that the company faces. Now, I will start with an update of the pigment business. Pigment business grew by 22% year-on-year amid good traction in all the major segments of coating, plastics, and ink. We saw strong demand coming back in the domestic business, reflecting the fast-paced recovery of the Indian economy from the COVID-19 disruption. Export business continues to remain resilient. Moving to the split between specialty and non-specialty, the non-specialty segment has seen good growth as demand has picked up since the previous quarter after remaining subdued during the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic. Demand on the specialty segment continues to remain buoyant, which is reflective of our strong technical capabilities built over the year. Year-on-year volume growth in specialty is at 21%, while non-specialty at 24%. Now, looking at the consolidated financial performance for the quarter, the total income from operation for Q3 stood at rupees 506 crore as compared to rupees 424 crore for the corresponding period for the previous year, up 20% on year-on-year basis. Growth in revenue is driven by strong growth in domestic sales as economic growth picks up the pace and continued strong demand from our export business. Consolidated gross margin is flat at 42.8% in Q3 FY21 versus 43% in the same period previous year. Pigment business saw price increases in some of the select intermediates during Q3. We are already in the process of passing the incremental cost to our customers. However, there is usually a lag of a quarter in passing the cost to the customers. This, coupled with the lower export benefits due to selling on MEIS income as per the government notification, has impacted pigment business gross margin compared to Q2 of FY21. Please note that the export incentive from MEIS scheme were capped by the government from September 20, which has also impacted the gross margins. The government has introduced a new scheme called Remission of Duties and Taxes on Export Products, RoDTEP, and we await more clarity in terms of rates and eligibility for coverage of all exports. Our employee cost has gone up this quarter as the annual increment become effective from October 20. Other expenses have gone up, which are in line with the higher production and the sales number. EBITDA for the quarter was at rupees 80 crores as compared to the rupees 650 crore for the corresponding period in the previous year, up 27% year on year. EBITDA margin in Q3 is at 15.7%, which is higher by 0.9% year on year. Depreciation this quarter was at rupees 21.7 crores, which is in line with the previous quarter. Year on year increase is on account of capitalization done during the financial year 20. Profit after tax for the quarter was at rupees 43 crore as compared to 30 crore during the same period in the previous year. PAT grew by 45% year on year. During the quarter, while filing the income tax return for the financial year 1920, assessment year 2021, the company evaluated its option for the new tax regime under Section 115 BAA in the context of status of other available tax benefits and opted for the new tax regimes effective FY 1920 onwards. During the quarter, the company has also assessed its investment in its wholly owned subsidiary, Rico Industries Limited, and consequently reversed the impairment amounting to rupees 10.7 crore based on the improved performance over the last 2 years. Coming to the consolidated financial performance for the 9 months, total income is up 2% on year-on-year basis to rupees 1288 crore against 1259 crore, which shows that demand is normalizing and the revenue trajectory is getting back to the pre-COVID levels. Gross margins have improved by 1.2% to 43.6% versus 42.4% of previous year. We continue to focus on our pricing action and product mix improvement initiatives. EBITDA margins have improved by 0.3% to 15.6% versus 15.3% of the previous year. Profit after tax for the 9 months is at rupees 94 crore versus rupees 96 crore in the same period previous year. To sum up the operational performance for the first 9 months of FY 21, Q1 was predominantly a supply side and logistic issue. Q2 saw us addressing these issues very well with the demand starting to come back to normalcy. And in Q3, we are seeing a strong demand environment coupled with efficient production leading to better and improved growth. Now I will share update on our capex plan. We had around 585 crore of capex plan for FY 20 and 21. Out of this, we had already completed rupees 225 crore during FY 20. We have progressed well on this capex project. However, second wave in Europe and restricted travel continue to have some bottleneck in movement of technical personnel from Europe and China. Due to this, we expect few projects to get further delayed. As per the current execution plan, our best endeavor is to complete the projects worth rupees 150 crore by end of this fiscal. Project worth rupees 210 crores will get commissioned during FY 22. Coming to update on high performance yellow pigment, we have made good progress in last few months on process and product design improvements. We have taken product trials and now in the process of sampling with the key customers. We expect customer approval by Q1 FY 22 and thereafter sales. Now I would like to give you an update on how we are seeing the business evolve over the next few quarters. We expect the demand environment to remain robust in the coming quarter as the Indian as well as world economy returns to normalcy. Even though this quarter we did not have impact on our number due to the lockdown in various countries across Europe and America, we continue to monitor this situation very closely. At the moment, demand from both domestic and export looks healthy, and we are seeing a good level of inquiry from the client across the segment and product portfolio. On the raw material front, we see price increases in some of the key inputs. However, expect to see stability in coming months. Our sales side actions are already underway to calibrate the pricing decision to pass on the cost increases. Overall manufacturing level at the plant is back to pre-COVID level, and we expect to continue on the growth path going forward. Our balance sheet remains strong and the business is well funded. We look forward to continuing to grow and deliver value to all our stakeholders. With this, we now open the floor for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Anyone who would like to ask a question, please press star and 1 at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Sanjesh Jain from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Thank you and good afternoon all. Thanks for taking the question. First question is on the mix for export and domestic sale. If you can give that would be helpful. What was the within the pigment, how much was the export and how much was the domestic sale?
Hi. So Nilkant here. So current composition between domestic and export business for pigment for the quarter, domestic sales is at 56%, export is at 44%.
Got it. Thank you. The second question on the future product pipeline. Now, given that the demand pickup is robust and strong, probably we wouldn't have expected this kind of bounce back in 3Q. Clearly a surprise on the volume side. Do we now plan to accelerate the new product launches? What is the plan for the new product launches in FY22?
Yes, sir. I think from October, November onwards, we've accelerated. This is Rajesh Rathi here. We've accelerated our capex projects for the new product launches, and that's where, as Mr. Nathu mentioned, we are making our best endeavor to complete at least 150 crores of our projects. There are challenges where still Germans and Chinese engineers are not still allowed to travel for the commissioning of some of the equipments, which has kind of taken a longer time to get things done. But we are making our best step forward to get that going. We expect, even if there are some spillovers, the entire capex should get completed by the end of H1 next year, right?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
So the product launches planned for FY22?
Yeah. Yes. Did you say which products? Sorry, what was your question?
So I wanted to understand what are the plans for the new product launches for FY22?
So, like we said, we are looking at launching several large projects. Wallet 20. Several 4 or 5 major high performance pigments in the next year.
So you're telling that we will have at least 4 to 5 new product launches in FY22, and we are ready with the capacity for it.
Yeah, so I'm saying, well, we'll have about 20-25 new product launches, but out of which 4 or 5 will be the major ones.
Got it. Just last bookkeeping question, particularly on the employee cost. I was looking that employee cost inflation has been quite high for us. In FY18, we had an employee cost of 942 million. If I take this quarter and annualize it, it's like 1.7 billion. So we have a cost inflation in last 3 years on the employee side close to 75%. What explains this? Well, the consumer, the revenues have not gone up to that extent.
Hi, so Nilkant here. So couple of reasons. If you see the employee cost for the quarter movement also, so one of the reason is the increment which we had given in this quarter. That is one. Second is also we have done some scaling up in terms of the new hires, considering the growth capex which we are planning, and considering also our projection. That is second. And third thing is also we are expanding in the new market. So as you are aware from our annual report also, we had made clear that we have incorporated subsidiary in Japan. So we have also hired locals there so as to reach out to the new market. So this is a combined effect of these three.
So we mean to tell that we have taken the incremental retrospectively to that extent this 429 million, it now is representative annual. Is that the right understanding?
Sorry, could you repeat again? No, not retrospective.
So this 429 million is a sustainable number. The numbers should remain here. Is that right understanding, or there is some one-off retrospective impact or a bonus impact in it, hence we may see a taper off next quarter?
No. So this will remain at this level subject to the new addition. And just to clarify, the increments and all that which have been given were not from retrospective effect.
Okay, were not from retrospective. So these numbers are really sustainable. And do we expect the same kind of inflation in employee cost, or we expect the employee cost inflation to be much more moderate in the coming
Yes.
year? Okay. Thank you. Best wishes.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management will be able to address questions from all participants, we would request you to please limit your question to 2 at a time. Should you have a follow-up question, please rejoin the queue. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Madhav Marda from Fidelity. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time today. I actually just wanted to understand some thoughts from your side on the export scale-up. So, all the people that we are hiring and all the marketing and sales that we are sort of doing in the global market. And then obviously there is expectation of market share gain for Sudarshan in the coming 5 odd years, 10 years. So if you could just help us understand how that export market dynamic is evolving for us.
Yeah. I think just to kind of talk about a little bit, the last market where we needed to expand was in Japan. And in Japan, Japan, as you're aware, market takes a long time to get there. But once you're in, you stay there for a long time, and the margins are very good. And that's how we've made the last bit of investment in the Japanese market, which the sales will take some time to generate, but there's a very good attraction, and the opportunity funnel is quite it's very interesting.
Any other key geography that we're looking at apart from Japan or in the existing markets where we are seeing expected to have good traction in the coming year or coming couple of years?
Yeah, I think we should be with our new product launches and the customer relationship. That's where most of our new product sales would come from. Europe, US, Southeast Asia, Japan. These are the key markets where we get more attraction.
Got it. And the second question was on the gross margins that we have. So obviously I don't want a number, but given that we're launching these new HPP products and the new yellow pigment, etc., so can we expect that generally the gross margins should keep improving for the next 2-3 years for the company?
Yes, so I think with a better product mix, we should be able to do a better job.
Okay. Got it. All right, I'll come back in here.
Nishant here. So, as Rajesh sir said that we will see that, but only one point here is this will get gradual scale up, correct? So maybe in the next 2 to 3 years. So full impact will come after a couple of years, but maybe in between we can see some expansion.
Okay. Got it. All right, sir. Yeah, I'll come back in the queue. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashwini Agarwal from Ashmore Investment Management. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, Rajesh, Neelkanth and team. Congratulations, good set of numbers. So one, metric you would present very often in your quarterly reports used to be these two lines, the gross margin as one line and the EBITDA margin as other line. And for the longest time, we could see the gross margin increasing, but EBITDA used to go down. And this time around, it's a little bit of opposite in the sense that gross margins have come down, but EBITDA has grown. And gross margin decrease is primarily on account of raw material costs, which you're trying to pass on, and MEIS benefit going away, which hopefully will get replaced by RODDEP. If that be the case, and you've got Yellow 139 launch coming up, and you've got a couple of other launches coming up, should we expect the gross margin to go back to 44, 45 in the next 12 to 24 months, and EBITDA margins to increase by a couple of 100 basis points from here, considering all your investments are now in on headcount, etc.?
So I think there are two areas, sir. One area is that the new products should give us two areas, right? So if we replay our strategy, we have 4 pillars of growth, right? One is the go-to-market strategy, where we've looked at the markets and we've said what's the best way to reach out to our customers, right? The number 2 area was looking at new products. How can we make a product portfolio which is, as good as the number 1 and number 2 player together, right? Which I think by this H1 our product portfolio will be equivalent. The third area was looking at few adjacencies where we get into, like, not really adjacencies, but specialized business, I would say, like digital links, etc., which take a little longer, but I think it's kind of, those are the higher margin businesses. And the fourth is the cost leadership, right? Where we are looking at saying that 4 or 5 molecules, we really become cost leaders where we can substantially get larger market share, right? So I would say that a good amount of work has happened on the first 3 pillars already. And we should, in some of the benefits we will see in years to come of the first 3 pillars. The fourth pillar will now start playing in. We've kind of developed the technologies for some of these areas. We are putting in this, and that execution will happen, and you'll see that maybe not getting executed next year, but the year after that. And that's how we are kind of hoping that both the increase in volume, increase in better mix would help improve the EBITDA margins.
And in your opening remarks, you spoke about this new product where trials are on and commercial supplies should start in April. I assume you're referring to Yellow 139. Would that assumption be right?
Yeah. Sir, I think yes, Yellow 138. We were talking about the Yellow 138 where, due to COVID, we had stopped all work on it. We started work on it, and we are saying that we should hope that we start generating, the quality, our internal evaluation seems that what the customer requires, I think we've made that, those parameters have come out. And now we are, instead of doing a full-blown launch, we are kind of getting customer feedback from a few customers. So we expect that in next Q1, Q2, in the next H1, we should start seeing some sales and also start building that opportunity funnel.
Okay. And last question, sir, is you'd spoken about, two launches, one in March, which was an inorganic compound, and another one in September of calendar 21. Are those launches on track, or they've also got pushed out by a couple of months?
So our endeavor for we are still trying to meet the March deadline, though it's a tough one, but we are still trying to go for it. And the September one may get pushed by 1 or 2 months, but not a major delay, sir. Nothing major.
Okay. No, thank you so much. All the best. I'll come back with more questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nav Bharadwaj from Anand Rathi. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Congratulations on your good set of numbers. My question would be, sir, could you share some light as to what is our current market share in effect pigments in the domestic market, and post these expansions, do you see that going ahead in the next couple of years?
Sorry, could you repeat again once?
If you could share as to what is our current market share in the effect pigments in the domestic market, and probably post commercialization of our capacities in the next couple of years, where do we see our market share in effect pigments in the domestic market?
That'll be a little too competitively sensitive information, a breakup of that. However, I would say that in general trend today, we few years ago we did have a good percentage of market share, which has dropped substantially now, and we hope to get back a substantial one.
In the double digits for sure, right?
Sir, I won't.
No worries. Yeah. No worries. So, and another question would be like, we have a subsidiary, Ryco, or whichever way we pronounce it. What is our plan on, divesting it or keeping it or reviving it so that it contributes better to my EBITDA in the future? Could you shed some light as to what are we thinking about it right now?
Right. So we are looking at, I think the team has done a good job in kind of getting the turnaround, managing the working capital and generating cash, right? And that's where the board has also taken a view to, correct?
Yeah.
The board has taken a view to...
So the board has also taken the view of, reversal of impairment provision which we have made. So, sir, the company right now has done the turnaround, and the RICO board as well as Sudarshan board would like to oversee this, going forward. As of now, there is no plan which has come to the consideration of the board.
Fair enough. That's it from my side. All the best going ahead.
One clarification: the valuation for this impairment reversal has been done from the independent valuer, and it has all the checks and balances. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Viral Shah from Enam Holdings. And before we take the next question, we would like to remind our participants, please limit your question to 2 at a time, as there are several others waiting for their turn as well. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Viral Shah from Enam Holdings. Please go ahead.
Yes, Rajesh, congratulations for a good performance. I have 2 questions. Firstly, if you could just take us through how the demand is in each of the end user industries, coatings, plastics, and ink. How is it panning out?
So I think I would answer this geography-wise. I think Asia, we are looking at Asia coatings, especially India coatings is looking good. It has really ramped up. Plastics and printing ink, we are seeing a good uptake too. However, Europe and North America, we are seeing right now, due to the second wave, etc., a little bit of a subdued demand. Subdued demand, and especially in plastics. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir. So just one on the outlook for the domestic paint side, with so many new players trying to enter the market and a possible shift that we may see from the unorganized to organized segment. How are you looking at targeting the domestic paint industry, and over the next 3 to 5 years, how are you looking at this segment of the market?
So for us, the coating market has always been a very important market, and we continue engaging very closely with the key customers and the new large entrants, and we do have a good key account management team and process in place to kind of serve these customers well.
Sure. Just a follow-up to this and last question. How big would coatings be as a percentage of revenues for us?
No, I think it's a large. It's the largest one in our as a share.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal Mehta from Vallum Capital. Please go ahead.
So thank you very much for the opportunity. Sir, I would just, I think you have mentioned this in your opening remarks, but I think it was not clear to me, and I would request you to repeat. So just wanted to understand, sir, as on H2 balance sheet, we had capital work in progress of 125 crores, and I'm sure we would have done some capex in this quarter also. So could you please repeat the amount of uncommissioned capex on the books as on date, or maybe as on March 21, which we would be having? And yeah, that is my first question.
Just 1 second. Yeah.
Hi, Kunal. So we are expecting the commissioning and the capital project execution during FY22 for the value 150 crore. During FY21, rupees 150 crore. So this is a number which we are expecting for this year. And the next year, we are expecting around 210 crore in FY22.
Okay, so 150. So this is 150 plus 210. So as on March 22, we are saying that there would not be any major uncommissioned capex. So we would technically, our internal target is to get it done. Most of the capex, at least for this round, to get it done by March 22 of roughly around 150 plus 210, 360 crores. That is the number we have to work with on the gross block addition side for the next till March 22.
Yes, Kunal, you are absolutely correct.
Okay. And so this last question from my end, I wanted to understand regarding the 4-5 high performance pigments which we are launching in the next maybe 12 months. Could you please throw some light on the financial potential of these products? I mean, each product, what could be the contribution towards the top line? I mean, anything on an average basis, or maybe ballpark basis, or per revenue per product, over, of course, at a fully scaled up level, I'm sure, which will take, I think, maybe a year or two more than that. So any view would be very helpful.
No, sir, it's a very valid question, and I think from a full disclosure perspective, the team is looking at what we can share with everyone, so that without having any competitive issues. So we will come with that. But in general, so I won't be able to give you specific answers. But this, our NPD potential of growth was a very high potential for growth for us to get there, and we are looking at a full, at a full utilization perspective, we would be looking at a asset turnover of 2.5 for that.
Okay, 2.5 times on the full scale of this new 360 crores of total this round of capex. That is the way we should That is how we should look at it, sir?
So Kunal, we need to break this between two. So there is a capex for growth, and there are a couple of capex for EBITDA and infrastructure. You can take 70% of that for the growth.
Got it. Okay, that makes it very clear. Yeah, got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhijit Akella from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for the opportunity. So just wanted to check regarding the capex that's already been commissioned and also that is in the works. So we've already done some in the last couple of years. Has that already started contributing to the revenues, or is that still expected to come? And if so, by when would we expect to start to see the revenues from that coming? And second, the capex that is now underway, 150 crores this year, 210 next year. By when would you expect it to sort of get fully start commissioning, contributing at full capacity utilization to the revenues?
Hey, hi, Nilkant here. So coming back to your question, so yes, the capex which we have, we have completed in FY20. We are on track as far as the utilization is concerned. But as you are aware that normally the capitalization and the process post capitalization and getting the full benefit will take around 2 to 3 years time. And we'd like to assure you that we are on target and the full scale benefit will come up in the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay, got it. That's helpful, sir. And the second thing I just wanted to ask is, do we sort of track the percentage of revenues from new products, products launched in the last, say, 3 years or 5 years, however we define NPD? Do we sort of track that percentage for Sudarshan? Where does it stand right now? And yeah, so that was the question.
That's a good question. I think, sir, as you may have seen in the last 2-3 years, we define NPD as 3 years, right? However, we've not had major launches, right? All our launches have got delayed. Hence, the percentage, our vision is that this should be at least 15 to 20% of our sales, right, going forward.
Okay, but where it currently stands right now?
It will be quite small, no? Because it'll be quite small right now because we've not made major launches.
Understood. Got it. Thank you so much, sir. Wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ankur from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Congratulations for a good set of numbers and thanks for taking up the question. So one clarification first. You mentioned there are around 4 to 5, major high performance products that we are planning to launch. Will this be including the 2 products that we were launching in March and September?
Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely. This is the whole plan. Yes.
Sure. And from a capacity, availability perspective, from the capex numbers that we mentioned, 210 crores incremental over FY2022 will be suffice for all these HPP products.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Great. Sir, another question on the capex side. Mr. Natu did mention that almost 70% of the capex that we are doing is more productive capex, while the rest is going into back-end infra or integration. But does that mean that the margin profile of the incremental revenue will also be superior, given most of the capex that we are spending on is on the high performance side, which in any case will be margin accretive?
Yes, sir. You are absolutely right. We are spending some money though on effect pigments also on amongst that. So yes, but you are right, sir.
Okay, fair enough. And on the operating margin, so this expansion will be more on the gross margin front, right? The operating leverage further panning out, since you mentioned that most of the overheads or manpower addition is largely done, considering this quarter as a base. So the operating leverage will be a top up to that.
Yes. As I mentioned earlier, there'll be there's a product mix change and there'll be also volume increase, right, which will help leverage the fixed cost.
Correct. Fair enough. And lastly, if you can, put some comment on the global, competitive scenario, given, BASF is already there with DIC, but any changes which have happened or, post-COVID, pre-COVID, any changes on the global scenario there? Your comments there, please. Thanks.
Sir, I think currently as you're aware, I mean, the BASF and Sun integration is happening, and we are told that they'll announce something by April. The Clariant is still in the market, which is still not completed. Also, some of the assets as a fallout of the BASF Sun in the US market may come into the market to be sold.
Okay. Great, sir. Thanks a lot, Rajesh, for your comments. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Madhav Marda from Fidelity. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the follow-up. Actually, what I wanted to ask you was, given this integration which is underway between BASF and Sun Chemicals, I think the expectation is that there will be some of the product portfolios, because of the competition reasons, they will be let go. So are we seeing any increased inquiry flow for Sudarshan's products because of this integration which is underway right now?
No, I think there is, sir. There are inquiries, but currently, sir, given the COVID waves, there's that's kind of a negative sentiment in some of the markets, especially in Europe and US in the market. So it's kind of there are both areas of things which we're looking at.
Okay. And the other question was on the employee cost side. Just wanted to reconfirm that have we sort of hired the senior and mid-level people that we require for the business sort of scaling up going ahead, or is there more hiring pending considering the capex that we're doing in the markets we're getting into?
Could you repeat your question? Sorry.
No, sir. I just want to check that given that the business is expected to scale up in the coming few years, are we done with the hiring of the senior sort of manpower that we require in different geographies, or there will be some more hiring which is yet to come? Like, is it already in the fixed cost base for us, or is there going to be sort of more addition in the coming couple of years?
Most of the hiring is done. There could be some incremental hiring in some of the regions, sir, but most of it is completed.
Understood. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Susmit Patodia from Motilal Oswal AMC. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. Two questions. One is our gross block will probably...
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Patodia. Your voice is not very clear. Can you please speak on the handset mode, and also if you can come to a better reception area?
Is it better now?
It's slightly better, but not that great. You may go ahead. If in case you can't hear, you will request you to repeat. Thank you.
Sir, our gross block will reach about 1,400 crores in 2 years. How much top line will this gross block be able to generate? Obviously, I understand it will take 2-3 years from FY22, but what would be the top line that you will aspire to?
Hi, Patodia, Nilkant here. So I would not like to put any specific number, but as we said that we are putting up this CAPEX project, which has certain portion around 70% on the growth, and we would like to see the asset turn around 2 to 2.5 versus various capex projects. So you will be able to know if.
Got it. Perfect. So my second question is, if there's DBT comes through in urea, does that significantly change our positioning in the blue and green? Because we know how some parts of the industry are not well aligned.
So are you talking about the anti-dumping duty on phthalic anhydride?
No, I'm thinking ahead in the future that if, for example, DBT comes through in urea, right, and there are some aspects of the blue and green pigment that gets, there's some misuse that happen. Does that significantly increase Sudarshan's competitive advantage?
So one thing is, sir, we don't consume urea because we don't make.
Yeah, I know that.
But of course, if urea prices do increase, the prices would increase. But I think 60 to 70% of the global blue and green is produced in India, and if everyone is affected, I guess the whole market price would increase.
Right. Okay. Got it. Thank you, sir. Best of luck.
Thank you. Request participants to please limit your question to 2 at a time. The next question is from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Sunidhi Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So on the capex front, so we had a total capex plan of 1,000 crores, of which the approved one is 585 crores. And given that 1,000 crore capex plan will have an asset turnover of 2 to 2.5x, so we are talking about 2,500 crores of revenue. However, this will be on a base of say FY15 or 16. So the base year after which this 1,000 crore capex has been planned is what should we take it as a base year, so that the revenues on that base year would be the base revenues, and then additional 2,500 crores will come from the incremental capex. So the base revenues are 1,400 crores, over which this additional capex will generate incremental revenues. Is that assumption right? Thank you. Hello.
Hello. So, sir, Nilkant here. So currently what we are, referring to in terms of capex is 585 crore. Okay. And as I mentioned, the composition 70% is for growth. So basis that 2 to 2.5 will be the asset turn. And as I mentioned earlier, that it will also depend on the scaling up process, which normally take around 2 to 3 years for any project post commissioning, and that can be taken as a basis.
Right. I understand this part. I was just referring to our earlier gross block before putting up this 585 crores. So that revenue base was say 1,200, 1,300 crores, and over and above this 585 crore will add to the revenues that you have mentioned in terms of 70% growth capex.
So, sir, I understood. So, for this particular working, we can consider FY19 as a base.
Okay, fair enough. So that's really helpful. Second question, again on similar aspects. So what will be our aspirational EBITDA margin post the capex is completed within the next 1.5 to 2 years, and the plants are stabilized and operating at the optimal capacity utilization? Thank you.
So we don't give the forward-looking statement, but yes, we expect the EBITDA margin to increase from the current level.
Okay, fair enough, sir. Thank you so much and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashwini Agarwal from Ashmore Investment Management. Please go ahead.
Hi, my questions have been answered. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mitesh Shah from ICICI Direct. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question and congratulations for the good set of numbers. I have a couple of questions. Last time you have said that you see the increase in the Chinese competition because of the incentives they got. So what is the current situation now?
That's 13%. It currently stays the same. I mean, we are still looking at our MEIS the new tax thing to come up for us, and hopefully we should get back. If we get back the 2%, that'll be helpful.
And about the second question, you have one of the highest quarterly run rate this quarter. So is that any one-off like a pent-up demand have you seen this quarter, or would be expecting as a sustainable numbers of Q3?
So I think it's a good point, sir. I think the demand, we've seen a good, fairly good demand in September too. I think it's a question of our ability to supply, and this quarter we've been able to supply properly, having managed the COVID situation now. We hope that next quarter also we see a fairly good demand. The picture looks good currently, and we hope that we are able to demonstrate a good result.
Okay, that's great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Madhav Marda from Fidelity. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. Sorry, this is my third question. Just one last one. The MEIS impact which was there this quarter, how much was the impact in absolute terms? If you could quantify, that would be really helpful.
Hi, Madhav, Nilkant here. So the MEIS impact for the quarter, is around 2.4 crore, 24 million rupees.
Got it. And this is like expected to be largely a similar impact can be expected even in the next couple of quarters, right? Until the RODTEP in some clarity comes through.
So Madhav, currently, we had the visibility up to December quarter, correct? Because that was the last date for MEIS. The road tax, the new scheme which got introduced from 1st January. The challenge there is, as I mentioned in my opening remark, the rates have not been yet notified. The government is in the process of notifying the rate for key sectors like textile, auto, and steel. The rate for chemical industry is not, or rate for any industry is not yet notified. So we can't comment on this because we are also,
Ladies and gentlemen, we lost the line of the management. We would request you to please stay connected while we join them back to the call. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for patiently waiting. We have the management back in the call. You may go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So Madhav, Nilkant here. So I think I answered your query. So we are not also knowing the rate yet. So once the rate gets notified, maybe next quarter, we will be able to give the better information. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are. Mr. Marda, do you have any other question?
No, that's it from my side. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraints, that was the last question for today. I now hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Nilkant here. So thank you all for your time and interest in Sudarshan Chemicals. We remain confident on our long-term prospects of our business, and we look forward to engaging with you again. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Dolat Capital, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line.